Ah yes, graphics cards in 2023. Terrible value and questionable configurations that don't make sense. This is the current state of the market. And it doesn't look like it's going to be changing anytime soon, according to some leaks which have surfaced this week. But before I get into the video though, I do have to put in this disclaimer. These are leaks. None of this is officially confirmed by Nvidia or any of its board partners, so do take these with a grain of salt. But usually, if something's mass leaked online, like the RTX 4050 and 4060R, it's usually true in about 90% of the cases, and even larger media companies have been tweeting about this as well. And because of this, it's very likely that the RTX 4060, 4050 and 4060 Ti are going to launch with these specs. So I thought I'd put in this disclaimer just to let you know that these are leaks and none of it's confirmed by Nvidia or any of its board partners, so do take this with a grain of salt. Let's start off with the RTX 4050, and I think this is probably the most outrageous one if I'm honest. And that is because it's got 6GB of GDDR6 memory, which runs through, yes, a 96-bit bus. And this is annoying because the RTX 3050 has 8GB of GDDR6 memory, which is a downgrade on the RTX 4050. And because of this, I suspect Nvidia are going to be launching an RTX 4050 Ti with 8GB of VRAM sometime this year. But as some games now are using more than 8GB of VRAM, even at 1080p, albeit some of these are terrible ports, looking at you, The Last of Us Part 1. And because of this, 6GB, even on an entry-level card, just simply isn't acceptable, and it isn't enough either. And the 96-bit bus is horrendously small if I'm honest. Even a graphics card like the GTX 1050 Ti, which launched in 2017, has a 128-bit bus, which is slightly bigger than 96 bits. As for CUDA cores and other specs of this graphics card, I'm not too sure. I couldn't find them anywhere online, anywhere solid that is at least. So we'll have to wait and see what Nvidia is going to come up with this. It should perform better than the 3050 in most games, but then again, you've got to be conscious of that 6GB of VRAM because it will hamper it in a few games. When it comes to the RTX 4060 and 4060 Ti, I think these are the least offending cards, if that makes sense. They provide a slight better value than the 4050, in my opinion. The 4060 non-Ti will have 3072 CUDA cores and 8GB of GDDR6 memory, which is a downgrade from the 3060 as that has 12GB of GDDR6X. And the 4060 Ti will have 4352 CUDA cores and the same memory configuration with the 8GB of VRAM, and it will also have a 128-bit bus, which is smaller than the GTX 1060s and RTX 2060s memory bus, so another downgrade. And for some reason they'll have a PCIe 8X 4.0 connection, which makes not that much sense. This just seems like a cost-saving measure in my opinion, because if you're going to be on PCIe 3.0, you might be seeing a bit of a performance loss there, similar to what we see with the 6500 XT from AMD. And as for the launch window, them looking like they're going to be launching in May, and I'm not looking forward to them at all. Personally, I wouldn't pay over £320 in the UK here for the 4060 Ti, and I wouldn't pay over £250 for the non-Ti version as well, so that's what I'm willing to pay, but yeah, I don't think these cards are going to be worth it at all. So looking into these cards and looking into various leaks about them, I do have to say, what is Nvidia thinking with these configurations on these cards? I do want to see what price they're going to be launching at, if that MSRP is ever going to be a real case MSRP, which it usually never is. I want to see what kind of value that these GPUs are going to give. Because in quite a few ways, each of these graphics cards is a bit of a downgrade from the previous generation. However, they should perform better thanks to the Ada Lovelace architecture and a newer processing node. But I want to see a 4060 compared to a 3060 in some games that are known to use more than 8GB of VRAM, because that is going to be pretty interesting. It just feels like Nvidia are just cheaping out on these graphics cards, like looking at the PCIe 8X configuration, because if you're running a PCIe 3.0 system, you're going to be losing performance here. With inflation happening across the world, it's a given that these graphics cards are going to be costing quite a bit more because, let's be honest, everything is costing a lot more. But it feels like Nvidia isn't granting the value that we used to see with series like Pascal and even Maxwell. Yes, Ampere was a good generation, it was just plagued by the mining fiasco. We won't get into that today. But 40 series is just ridiculously overpriced for some reason, almost doubling in price for some graphics cards. And I think it's just crazy what's going on. So the main question is, will the GPU market get better, and will it get better soon? And I would have to say, I don't think it will be. Especially with this generation, the mid-range isn't looking to be any good on Nvidia's side. We will have to wait to see what Intel are doing and AMD are going to be doing with their mid-range graphics cards. So we'll have to stay tuned for that this year. And there is another silver lining, as not a lot of people have been buying graphics cards like the 4070 Ti. This should drive down the price as no one is buying them, so they're going to have to lower the price to make the sales. But if you ask me, if you're shopping at this price point, just look on the used market. You'll get way better value there and you won't be price gouged by Nvidia or AMD. Intel doesn't seem to be too overpriced though, so an Intel Arc GPU, if you've got the system for it, might be a good choice for you. With this being said, I'm going to end this rant here. I just want PC gaming to be in the same space it was in around 2016, 2017. Do you remember when Nvidia launched their Pascal series and AMD launched their Polaris series? The value you could get, even with new GPUs back then, was incredible. So I'm going to say this. Remember, these are leaks, so this is purely speculative at this point. Nothing's been confirmed officially by Nvidia. But if you're going to be looking into buying one of these graphics cards, please wait for independent reviews with benchmarking data. This will allow you to make an educated buying decision when purchasing one of these graphics cards. I do hope I'm wrong about all these leaks, and I hope it comes out that Nvidia are launching these at very good prices. But you've got to stay grounded in reality and see, looking at the trends, I don't think Nvidia is going to do this at all. So with this being said, I'm going to leave the video here. Like it if you liked it, stay subscribed for more tech content, and I'll catch you in the next one.